All right, y'all. I feel like I need to expand on this more, so this is just going to be this is like a part 2 to the video I just posted. So, in addition to my other video, Redeeming Love, okay, talking about the hoe, okay, um, which is interesting. There is a hoe in Hosea. That's interesting. So, again, if you have not watched the movie Redeeming Love, go watch it. So God may have given you someone to stand for. Said this is your spouse, this is your husband, this is your wife, okay? But they may have some things they're dealing with, okay, when it comes to lust, right? They may be, by definition, a hoe. Remember, in the last word, that was the word that has been highlighted to me consistently within a 24-hour period on like 5 different occasions. I was like, okay, Lord, I hear you, but this is such a interesting word for you to be highlighting. Like, what are you talking about? Revelation was in the first part. This is more revelation. So my stomach is making noises. I started a new probiotic, and whenever I start a new probiotic, my stomach will make the weirdest noises until it adjusts. Anyways, so if you hear that, my bad. So, much like Hosea, he went and prayed for a wife. And to his surprise, the Lord brought him a prostitute, a hoe, okay? By like biblically a whore, like, okay? And he was like, God may have promised somebody to you. Yes. Trying to record with this child home is like the hardest thing to do. But anyways, so, but God anointed him for her, okay? Her entire life didn't know what love was, okay? Didn't know what true love was, all right? And it was due to, in the movie, it was due to her childhood, okay? She pretty much followed in her mother's footsteps. Her mother raised her as a single mom. Her dad left her, walked out of her life. So she didn't have her dad there. And her mother pretty much raised her, teaching her that God wasn't, I don't know if it was teaching her that God wasn't real, but all men were going to treat you the same way and use you, essentially. So her entire life, because of how she grew up, she followed in her mother's footsteps. I think her mother was a prostitute. And then she started, because that's all she ever knew, okay? All she ever knew was just men who were dirty, who were basically the version of love that she grew up knowing was to, like, she wasn't deserving of like real love, that it wasn't out there, it didn't exist. You just pretty much sold yourself, right? You gave away your body, and that's kind of just all she knew. And so God sent Hosea on assignment to her, to love her, to show her true unconditional love, to show her that God is real and that God's love is real, and God chose him to do that, right? To show God's love through him onto her. And so that's what he did. Mom, y'all, 1,000, a million, gajillion times a day. Hold on. And so I'm saying that to say maybe God sent you to someone who sleeps around, or who just has lusting. Maybe they don't sleep around. Maybe they just have lusting issues. Maybe they lust over it. Maybe they follow a bunch of people on social media that are provocative and such. Maybe that's all they ever knew. Maybe they never knew love. And maybe you never knew love until God showed you that love, right? But maybe they haven't experienced that love from God yet. And maybe God chose you and anointed you and appointed you to this person so that they can experience God's love. And maybe God sent you to them multiple times to try to break them out of that bondage that they were in, but they rejected it, just like Gomer did Hosea. Hosea came to where she worked, right? And paid to see her multiple times, but not to sleep with her. right? But to try to get her out of there and to show her love, right? He asked her to marry um him, and but she agreed to it, and then she ran away. She ran away 3 times, okay? And so maybe this person has rejected you multiple times, right? And eventually God had Hosea step back and allow those seeds to grow that was planted. And because this person, and I have a word that God gave me like a year or so ago where he spoke to me and he said, this has to be something natural for this person. Like, this has to be something that they make that decision on their own. It cannot be forced. It cannot be forced onto them. They have free will, and God respects our free will. Okay. But but they will return. They will return back to God. They will return. You've showed them now God's love, and it's only a matter of time before they realize, like, the lifestyle that they're living, like, this isn't what I want, this isn't what I need, this isn't of God, this isn't fulfilling, this isn't, and they turn and they repent. I remember there was a clip of her in the movie where she was literally like getting convicted. It got to a point where she was feeling conviction for sleeping around. It wasn't she got into a lake and literally was scrubbing her skin so hard because she felt so dirty. And that's how it's gonna kind of happen with them, right? They're gonna start feeling the Lord's conviction, okay? And God is gonna deal with them. God is working with them. God is dealing with them. He's delivering them. But this is something that they have to do on their own, right? It's their own journey. There's nothing that you can do. But Hosea showed her God's love, which is patient, which is kind, which is long suffering. He waited for her for 3 years, but she returned back, okay? He didn't go off and do anything outside of what God told him to do. He stayed true to his wife, to who said God was his wife. And he kept things in order, right? He took care of, the house, the land, the property, like all of the things that God blessed him with. He took care, he stewarded everything well, and he stayed committed and stayed faithful to God and to her. And that is what God needs you to do. And he was forgiving, right? Love is forgiving. Love is forgiving. You are to forgive 70 times 7. And that's what he did. Every time she went back, he forgave her and welcomed her back with open arms every single time. And even after that 3 years, she came back, he welcomed her with open arms. So you are to show them grace, right? Just as God does. Forgiveness, patience, kindness, no matter what it looks like, right? You are no better than them. They are struggling. They may not know any different. But God has put you on assignment with this person. And so just because they're out there doing X, Y, and Z, living in sin, living in the world, doesn't mean that God didn't say that they were for you. So don't sit in pride, and don't allow people who get on and talk on these prophetic words, they're speaking out of pride, say like, oh, this person isn't for you. This person isn't for you because they're out here doing this, this, and this. You don't need that. Or, God wouldn't send this person to you when they're out here doing this, this, and this. Oh, but he would, because you are no better than them. And the Hosea and Gomer story is a perfect example of, oh, yes, he would. Oh, yes, he would. So be careful with videos that you listen to that are filled with pride-driven, that tell you things you want to hear, but not things that tell you what your flesh wants to hear, right? Don't entertain that, because that's not what God said. That's how you feel. That's what you would like to hear, but that's not always the truth, okay? So be careful. You need to test the spirit by the spirit, and if it's a spirit of pride, it's not God, period. So be careful and be mindful of that, because there are some prophetic voices on here, some of them of which I used to listen to until they started shifting into pride. Now I no longer listen to them because they are in pride. They are in rebellion because they are in pride. And so just be careful, be mindful of that, and know that he may send you somebody that looks like a Gomer, and it is for you to love them unconditionally. So, yeah, That's the further revelation. I pray this reaches who it needs to reach. If y'all led to sow, you may do so, and y'all be blessed. Okay, bye.